Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
7 minutes past the hour with the legendary Dave Scott, a known Canadian.
Dave Scott, lost in space, the other side of midnight.
Danger! Baldur Sterling, danger!
There's Dave Scott, who hosts a show called Spaced Out Radio, a Canadian radio show, but he is a journalist. He studies UFOs, metaphysics, portals, secret time travel. But unlike most quacks, he actually studies it. He makes sure that there's some truth behind it. He shares that with you and me. Dave Scott, welcome tonight. Welcome to the Giant Network radio show, the Red Apple Audio Networks. Hi, Dave.
Hello, number one. It is great to be with you tonight. But before we start anything, this whole Jamaican food with Ida, okay?
Yeah.
I want to be at that table.
Have you had it?
I've never had Jamaican food, and the way you guys were describing it, it's something that I think I need to be there for.
I was so surprised. I went there actually for a business conference, not on vacation. I'm sitting there in their restaurants. I'm like, this is the best food I've ever had in my life. And it was a real treat. Every meal was spectacular. I miss it. And that's my culinary expertise there, Dave.
Probably the closest that I've got to that was I once had a gentleman from India as a client of mine, and I said, I will not work anything for you unless I can get from your wife some homemade samosas. And about 3 hours later, he called me up and he's like, I need you to stop by my house. I had my wife make samosa for you.
What is that? What is that? What is it?
It's like a spicy vegetable dish. It's got chutney in it. It's got curry in it. It's potatoes and peas and vegetables. The North American style has meat in it, but the Indian style is vegetarian. And then it is put in how would you put it? Like you do Kentucky Fried Chicken in the grease pot.
Yeah.
I apologize.
It's
nothing
fried.
Culinary.
It's fried.
It's fried.
Yeah.
And then you eat it with like a plum sauce or some sort of chutney sauce or whatever, and it is amazing. So I didn't get just one or two. His wife made me 30 samosa that I picked up. I literally carried a cardboard box full of samosa out of his house. I ate like a king for about a week eating these things.
Earlier tonight, we had a caller talk about a 30 they picked up today, which was entirely different. It was something I had never heard of, just like I never heard of this before. It was a 30 pack of 30 cans of beer. I didn't realize you could buy beer in 30 packs. Well, this guy bought 30 packs, and now you're telling me about a 30 pack of samosas?
Yes.
Wow. And what's in the samosa again? Because now, of course, I have to find out.
Well, the real ones, like if you go to an Indian restaurant, they are a vegetarian meal. They're very spicy. They are filled with potatoes and vegetables, and they are just to die for. Absolutely to die for.
Are these fattening things?
No.
Oh, they're vegetarian. No, they're not. You're right. Right.
Yeah, no. I promise you will love them. So take Mrs. Sterling out to an Indian restaurant and ask for samosas.
All right, I will do that. Which brought me to a strange thought with you, Dave Scott. We're talking about food, and then I talked to you about aliens. Never have I heard any reports about the aliens that we have in our storage areas, in Area 51, etc. We never hear about what they eat. What do they eat?
Oh, we don't know. We don't know. Now, people who claim to have been abducted by aliens, they often ask, what do you eat? Okay, and a lot of times they can project what they eat, to, I guess it's almost like a vegan type of swill or something along those lines. I mean, I don't think it would be very appetizing to what you and I have, but apparently they do eat. But you never see them with a water or a Pepsi or a shot of vodka. You never see that.
Mm-hmm. Wonder what they do eat. That's a, because they couldn't last long if they eat. They couldn't last long here if we don't have their food.
Well, you know what? There's an interesting older story about this, Walter.
Yes.
A gentleman who used to be an assistant editor at the L.A. Times. This is going back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Okay, his name was Philip Kraft, Krapf, and he is since deceased, unfortunately. But he wrote one of the most impactful books that I have ever read on the alien abduction subject. He was your typical editorial journalist who didn't believe in this, thought it was just a bunch of tinfoil hat garbage that wasted lines in a newspaper, as most editors do, up until recently. And he actually got abducted by a group of aliens called the Verdants. Okay, and one of the things that he did when he was on the craft, he was gone for about 3-4 days, and it just happened to coincide when his wife was out of town for about the same length of time. And he ended up writing a series of books on these, and I only read part one of his 3-part series, but it absolutely captivated me because these aliens, they look like your prototypical alien grays that stand about 3-4 feet high. They didn't have as big of eyes or big as head as most alien grays do. If you look at pictures of them, they were more humanoid looking, but they still had their alien features. And one of the things that he said about the food was that they could project anything to taste like anything. So let's say you wanted a steak and lobster with a baked potato. They would bring in this what looked like goulash, like a gray goulash, and it would look very unappetizing, but when you tasted it, it tasted exactly like that steak and lobster. And I always found that very interesting because, you know, they talked about, you know, liquids, like whether it was water or wine or Coca-Cola or whatever. They would bring in a glass and you'd take a sip and it would taste like whatever you wanted. He never really figured out how they actually did that, but he said that it was like eating whatever you wanted. If you wanted all of a sudden a steak sandwich or a Philadelphia cheesesteak or a New York pizza, you just say, this is what I want, and they would bring it out. It would look like garbage, but it would still taste perfectly.
All right, this is Dave Scott, the host of Spaced Out Radio, a Canadian radio show. He has an amazing website, spacedoutradio.com, and you can find every single show he's ever done on YouTube. Dave, do you have updates for us tonight on Another Side of Midnight?
We actually do, because President Trump today actually to the media acknowledged the missing scientists or the murdered scientists, because there is now a list of 10 of them that have either died or disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Now, where this story really started taking track was back on February 27th, when retired Major General Neil McCaslin of the United States Air Force disappeared from his home, and he hasn't been seen since. There are very little clues that the police in New Mexico are giving out regarding this. We know he left his wallet at home. He left his glasses at home. He left his watch at home. Yet he took his revolver, which was very interesting, and nobody knows where he went. There was only about an hour's time from his wife leaving to go to a doctor's appointment to coming back that he simply vanished in that 1 hour. Since then, they've tied 9 other scientists who have allegedly worked or been interviewed about the UFO subject that the U.S. government is hiding. Well, President Trump today basically said that he is aware of it. He's not sure if there's anything malicious behind it or if it's just a coincidence that these brainiac scientists have gone missing. He says, however, we should know within the next week or so what actually is going on. So is there a conspiracy going on? Many people, including Congressman Tim Burchett and Congressman Mark Burleson, actually believe that there is something going on with some sort of shadow government that is taking out our own scientists, all because of the one subject that they have in common, and that is UFOs. Now, for a lot of people, myself included, it seems so far-fetched that the UFO subject could actually lead to these people going missing or being murdered or killed under mysterious circumstances. Yet that's where we sit right now. Is this a conspiracy theory that we're all just dreaming on, or is it something more real? We're going to find out.
Well, I found most interesting thing about what President Trump said today about this subject was that he spoke of it as not part of his government. He spoke of it as the White House had nothing to do with this. He didn't know anything about this. He's going to find out about it. And I'm like, wait a minute, and you hinted at this just now. This goes to the secret government. This goes to the deep, deep, deep state, making decisions as to what the president can find out and what it cannot find out. And here's what I think is going to happen. I think he's quite sincere. I believe the president is like, I don't know about this. I'll find out. And then he went back to his office, picked up a scary phone, talked to somebody at the CIA or the FBI, and they said, don't touch it. Just leave it alone. And then he's going to go back to worrying about Iran, and he won't mention it again. I promise you that if he doesn't mention this again, it's because somebody picked up the phone and said, just leave it alone, don't worry about it, and the deep state will have another win. That's my opinion.
And I 100% agree with you. I mean, look, touching the UFO subject has allegedly upset a lot of people in the governmental world. From what I have heard from sources who have worked in the CIA is that they are very, very upset about this. And it's divided down the middle. 50% of politicians and officials want the UFO files released. The other 50% are like, no way, we cannot let this out no matter what. However, there are some stubborn people in Congress like Anna Paulina Luna, Nancy Mace, Tim Burchett, and Eric Burleson, those four especially, who are not letting go of this subject. They feel that the American people have a right to know what's going on with UFOs, unidentified aerial phenomena, which I believe are man-made objects that people are seeing, but we just can't identify, things that are happening in the oceans called USOs. Unknown
what does that
object.
what does it say that again? What does that stand for? USO what?
Unidentified submerged objects.
Oh, that's new.
And I mean, when you get to that subject, I mean, there are people who claim that they from submarines that claim that they have been passed by objects going at nearly Mach speed underwater. That is impossible. There is not a torpedo in the world that does that speed underwater, and they cannot figure it out. So there are these subjects that are going on, and it is believed that there is some sort of shadow government that is calling the shots when it comes to ET contact, UFOs, where the aliens are hidden, or whether Bob Lazar worked at Area 51. So there's a number of subjects here that the president may not be read in on because all presidents, not just President Trump, all presidents are short timers. And you don't give a short timer the biggest news of mankind.
And Dave Scott, 23 past the hour with Dave Scott, a Canadian who's an expert on all things extraterrestrial, time travel, portals, everything we are truly fascinated by. And you can talk to Dave at 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Dave, what other news do you have for us tonight?
Well, we are also still following the story of the 46 UFO videos that were supposed to be released yesterday at noon. And Congressperson Anna Paulina Luna, who we mentioned in the last segment, she has been all over this. She actually sent another note to the Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth today, basically saying, where are the videos? You were supposed to release them yesterday to us, or at least some of them, and you haven't released it. And of course, there has been no response from the Department of War. And this is where we get right back into what we were just talking about, Walter, about the shadow government. Okay, why are they not releasing these videos? What is hidden on these videos that we are not allowed to see?
And what do you think it is? What do you think it is? Because you're an expert.
Personally, I think that the reason why they don't want to release it is because they are afraid not of the UFOs, but of hidden U.S. technology that we do not know of. That's what I think it all comes down to. This is why, if you go back to 2015, when Hillary Clinton on the Jimmy Kimmel show said, no, we don't call them UFOs anymore. We call them UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, which has since been changed to unidentified anomalous phenomena. But I have talked to numerous people from the inside who said, look, they're trying to hide UFOs in this UAP anagram. Okay, but it really isn't that. It really is the hiding of man-made objects. And who could make projects like that? Well, we look at Lockheed Skunk Works, we look at Boeing and Raytheon and Palantir and McDonnell Douglas and so many of these military contractors who have technology that some believe is anywhere between 50 and 100 years more advanced of what we see today, Walter. And if that is the case, and these videos contain this hidden technology that we don't even know about, as you being a U.S. citizen, me being a Canadian citizen, we are a known Canadian at that.
Known Canadian.
You know, that's what I think they're hiding. That's why they don't want the videos released. They don't want the public to know where their trillions of dollars are disappearing to every year. They don't want Russia to know, or China, or Iran, or any other adversary, even the space pirates that Ted Cruz believes are roaming around up in space. We don't need to know that. And when we start messing with their unlimited budgets, that's where they get a little cranky. So I think that's the big reason why right now we are not seeing any videos released.
It doesn't make sense. China, Russia, excellent spy services, outstanding spy services, I am sure they know whatever we have.
Absolutely. But here's the other thing that we also have to figure out, Walter. The United States government started playing with stealth technology back in the 1960s when they created the SR-71 Blackbird as well as the U-2 spy plane. Okay, it hasn't been until the last 20 years that China and Russia finally figured out stealth technology. And their stealth technology, from what I've heard from one insider, isn't that good. In fact, he told me point blank that if we ever got an aerial war with China or Russia, there's no way that they could last against our F-22s or even the F-35s. Okay, but he said to me, Dave, if they're just coming out with stealth technology now, and we've had it for 60-plus years, what else do you think we have? And I couldn't even imagine it, because what's better than stealth technology? Is it cloaking technology? Is it anti-gravitics?
It's anti-gravitics. It's anti-gravitic.